So let's be perfectly honest here. I've been pretty overdue for a One Piece related video. So guess what you're gonna get? A One Piece related video. And this is my, I guess you could call it, theory about how the Kaido fight will go down. And how I feel like every Supernova will be involved in that. Because you can't call something the worst generation and only be talking about 2 pirates. It just didn't work. So, let's proceed. Let me explain what I mean. So far, up to chapter 803, all we've really seen of Kaido is him showing up in front of Kid, Apu, Hawkins, and Killer, and that whole situation. That's the thing we've seen. Now, my internal theory is that the Supernovas, all of them, will end up fighting end up fighting Kaido. Apparently, I'm going to keep... Law is everyone now. Law is love, law is life, apparently. Which is funny, because he is the captain of the Heart Pirates. Alright, I'm going to stop. It's fucking ridiculous. Now, a lot of you might be asking, why do I feel like Kaido would be the thing to bring all the Supernovas together? Well, Oda's kind of started hammering in this whole thing about how they're a part of how Luffy and Law are part of the worst generation. Well, the worst generation doesn't just include Law and Luffy. We got all the other ones that we still need to address. Now, I understand there's some far-fetchedness in why certain characters wouldn't show up, but most of these aren't that far-fetched. So let's go down the list of Supernovas and talk about which ones are more likely to show up. Law, Luffy, and Zoro, those are fine because that's their goal anyway, is to take out Kaido. If you've noticed, Law hasn't even really explained the other half of his plan yet. The original plan was to get Doflamingo in trouble with Kaido, which is to piss Kaido off, and then it's like, we gotta go get my crew at Zo. But like, they haven't really fleshed it out from that point forward, so we don't know what's coming next, which allows for the other Supernovas to jump in. But going from that, we got those two. We don't really need to talk about Apu, Killer, Kid, and Hawkins because they're already there. And the way this is either going to work, I don't think they're going to die. I don't think any of them will die. I believe they will get their shit wrecked, which will lead into them wanting to join forces with Law and Luffy. Because it's like, who do you want to kick? Who do you want to get rid of? Do you want to get rid of Shanks, or do you want to get rid of the guy who just beat the shit out of you? I think you would have more of a vendetta against Kaido afterwards. So it makes more sense. Especially considering Law's already talked about how low their chances are, even with their current plan. So, first off, I'm pretty sure that's how it's gonna go. Kaido's gonna fuck them up. Is gonna make them shift their focus from Shanks to Kaido, which will allow for a team-up. Well, that's about half the Supernovas right there. Rouge is already in the area, so I could just see him getting sucked in just through curiosity. Then you have Capone, Drake, and Bonnie. Now, Drake, we know, has a huge correlation with Kaido from before and after the time skip, and most people have suspected that he works under Kaido now. I don't think that's going to stick. I think if anyone's backstory we're going to get next, in terms of the Supernovas, it'll probably either be, I'm banking either Bonnie's or Drake's, and I'm more banking Drake just because the character that we have to deal with is what Drake serves under. So it makes more sense to me. Now to talk about Capone and Bonnie. Well, I'm not sure, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember the newspaper when they first started announcing the Lu Law Alliance. Most of the Punk Hazard stuff went pretty much unnoticed. Like, it became common knowledge that Luffy and Law were joining forces, and that was primarily just due to the fucking Doflamingo situation. But the reason why I say the Punk Hazard shit is known is because they wouldn't know about Caesar Clown. And people go, well, what does Caesar Clown have to do with anything? If you notice in the chapter in which they kind of show almost all the post-time skip Supernovas, Capone, in Capone's scene, he mentions Caesar. And your first response is like, and my first thought was like, how the fuck does Capone know Caesar? which means he either has some dealings with Caesar, which makes sense. He's like a mafia character. So it wouldn't surprise me if he was in some black market dealings with Don Flamingo, which AKA would give him a reason to get in within the area. And the fact that he knows about Caesar kind of hints towards something else too. Which I think is the big mom situation. I don't even think was about Caesar. It was about Luffy's crew in general. It just so happens that Caesar happened to be on the boat, and Caesar happened to piss off Big Mom. I don't think she knew about him though. But that's besides the point. So that's that. And then we have Bonnie, who the only thing we really know about Bonnie is that Bonnie has no problem with what they're doing and is actually kind of happy about her fellow rookies. So I can see her joining in just for like, look, if we can take out our Yonko, that's the fuck what we're going to do. And I feel like for that first Yonko, that seems like something that would happen. A lot of people wanted me to talk about Luffy's new fleet, which is like his unofficial fleet. I don't feel like that will be a thing until they run into some real shit. That may come into play with the Yonko stuff, but I'm thinking that's primarily going to be focused for dealing with the big bad. Like, his crew will probably mainly still deal with, like, the underlings of the Yonko. But, like, the main Supernovas will probably deal with Kaido himself. Because they still got to take this motherfucker down. I mean, you got to deal with his underlings, yes, but you still got to take this motherfucker down. Especially because Kaido, right now, a lot of people are not totally sure how he is, because personality-wise, what we've seen is that either he's been insanely out of the loop or he's fucking insane. Probably a combination of both, let's be honest here. Because he starts talking about Whitebeard in the introduction chapter he's thrown into. There's going to be a lot of shit where I feel like beating Kaido won't even be a game of killing him. They'll probably just put him in a state in which he's highly incapacitated. Which makes for an interesting combat fight, but to me, that's my Supernova theory. I feel like almost every Supernova has enough of a reason to show up. Rouge is in the area. As I said, the Kid Alliance will obviously have a reason, because they're going to get their shit wrecked. And it also creates an interesting dynamic, because you can't have it where only like 2 or 3 of the fucking Supernovas are viewed as the worst generation. That means these other characters are doing something else too. Capone, to me, I've gotten more curious about after seeing him. Especially because I feel like he may be more involved with the black market stuff. Which, once again, makes sense because he's a mafia boss kind of character. Also, he has a very weird ability. He's like he's a mafia, and his ability has like a mini mafia in his mafia. Now, if anyone remembers, his whole ability was the whole having like an army in his body. And when they shoot cannons, the cannons grow like 3 times their size. So he could essentially shoot you at point blank with like a giant-ass bomb, and you wouldn't even know it. Or you wouldn't know it until you got shot, pretty much. And just to quickly address the Rob Lucci stuff in the latest chapters, I don't know why people are hyped about this, considering Rob Lucci has been nothing more than a power play character. Like, Lucci's value in the story of One Piece is like little to none. We saw his backstory, which wasn't interesting at all. Lucci's main appeal to the One Piece fan base, to me, has always been that he's strong. That's it. That's literally, if Lucci isn't stronger than Luffy, he's irrelevant in my eyes. Because that's all Lucci was ever really there to be, is just stronger than Luffy. Also, the fact that Luffy just ain't gonna let him get away with half the shit he got away with when they fought when they fought the last time. Lucci was on some high-level hockey shit. Neither one of them even knew hockey. I don't view Lucci as a rival for Luffy, and I don't find that fucking interesting. I'm just saying, like, Lucci being back in the story is, like, one of the most... I actually would say that's been the most underwhelming thing you have told me so far. Like, I legitimately do not care, because Lucci isn't important. I'm more interested in Spandam being shown than Lucci. Primarily because Spandam, although is a fucking cowardly, weak-ass piece of shit, Spandam had something that made me hate him versus Lucci, who is like this walking, murdering, like, he's like a walking gun. That's the best way to describe Lucci. Lucci is a fucker who follows orders, walks around, and just shoots. Like, that's all. Oh, we need you to kill this pirate over here. Oh, we got him. Like, that's all Lucci does. So I don't understand the appeal of Lucci. There's not too much to talk about Luffy's fleet because, as I said, Luffy's fleet I don't feel like will come into play as a whole until like the very end, because it's gonna. They even kind of Oda kind of foreshadows it, saying they'll be responsible for a certain event. I don't think the event will come into play until like way later. Like the Blackbeard fucking, where's my mind going? Blackbeard revolutionary thing. That will be a major event, but I don't feel like that will be the event. The event will have to be something that shakes the entire core of the pirate world. And I feel like that's going to have something to do with the Navy. The Navy of the Tenryubito, which would make sense if the whole Sanji Tenryubito theory is true, which I honestly think that's what it is. I feel like something's going to happen to Sanji, and he's going to be put in a position where if he doesn't go in quietly, then they're going to hurt like Nami, Chopper, and Brook kind of situation. Just using that as an example. And he's going to have to go in and just walk away from this shit. Now, this will be, hopefully this will be major characterization for Sanji, but this also leads into an arc that will happen and will create a big splash, where they're like, fuck it, we need to go get Sanji back, and we need to go take out this, and I feel like and Tenryubito makes sense, because saying that he has a fleet that giving him a fleet now gives him more of a reason to go into fucking Marijoa with his fleet and start wrecking shit. Like, you can't just walk into Marijoa in my mind. I don't think that's how this works. But making Sanji a Tenryubito and having him walk in this and having him be in there and Luffy and his crew have to go get him back and having his fleet behind him allows them to be, and I don't think that's going to happen for a minute. They're probably, like, this is major foreshadowing. I don't feel like the Sanji stuff will happen for a minute. I feel like the Kaido thing is going to get finished out. Then we'll touch on the Sanji shit. If then, depends on what happens with the Blackbeard revolutionaries plotline. But my whole theory is that if I go with the Tenryubito theory, which makes sense, to go with that, have him be taken to Marijoa, and have them have to fight like pretty much start a war over Sanji. Like, I feel like if the Tenryubito shit comes to pass, Sanji will probably be the key for the next oh my god what the fuck is happening moment. Like, we're gonna get a whole bunch of shit from that, and I feel like that's when Luffy's fleet I don't think will play a big role now. I think, like, if anything, we'll get like casual minor roles, because if you notice, a lot of the fleet kind of correlate with certain characters. Like, for example, you have EDO, the long arm boxer. Well, that correlates with Brook because that's where he hung out. Tontadas, I can totally see that being either Chopper or Frankie. Fucking Bartholomew is Luffy like Zoro. Fucking the Giants, Usopp. Like, I think, and then, you know, you got your various other characters. But my point is, like, I don't feel like the fleet will become a major player situation until, like, I feel like that would it has to correlate with a big event. You have to have a reason to use your entire fucking fleet. They might have their supporting roles, like Bartholomew getting them to Zoe, but I don't feel like they're gonna, like, really start playing a role, like, all of them at once, until something major. And having Sanji be captured by Tenryubito, or having to go back into the land of Marijoa, and him being a prince of Marijoa, having that happen, Luffy and them having to go get him and having to bring their fleet with them to take out these motherfuckers, because they're probably gonna be fighting the Navy on top of that. That is more interesting to me, and that I think would correlate with the big event that they end up triggering later on, the Oda foreshadowed. So as far as the fleet talk goes, I feel like that directly correlates when Luffy does something majorly huge again. Because to me, being Doflamingo is more of a domino effect instead of, like, being Doflamingo in itself isn't huge. But the fucking ramifications of being Doflamingo is what makes it huge. The only two huge things that they can do at this point, the next huge thing I think Luffy will end up doing is taking down the Yonko. And I don't think he's going to do that by himself. I think the Supernovas are going to do that. As I said, and even if I'm wrong and it's not all the Supernovas, I think a good chunk of them. Because, like, as I said, you can't keep calling these characters the worst generation. And Oda set these dudes up pre-time skip. There is no reason to only use some of them. I always knew that when the New World started, he was going to start using these guys more often because he grouped them together right before the crew got split up. So I knew that the Supernova was going to be used. To the degree it seems like it would be interesting, and I always thought this would be an interesting concept, have certain Supernovas be teamed up for certain arcs. Kaido, if it's no one else, I know it'll at least be Luffy, Law, Apu, Kid, Drake, and Killer and Hawkins. Like, I know at the very least we're gonna get like a good chunk of them. Rouge and Capone. I actually wouldn't mind if you save Rouge, Capone, and Bonnie for like Big Mom, because I know those are gonna be the first two we're gonna deal with. I'm pretty sure we're gonna deal with Kaido first, and it would be interesting if we still had all 9 supernovas in one arc, and then combine the two, where they fought Big Mom and Kaido at the same time, because Kaido's trying to start some shit. Like, Kaido's even openly admitted in his chapter, his goal is to start some major world shit. I don't think that's going to come to pass. I think he'll get it started, but he won't be able to finish it. Especially because we're going to have characterization for Drake. I know that's coming. Because the way they've been kind of writing Drake, the way Oda's been writing Drake, it's like, you had him come there originally to start some shit, and then he ends up as a part of the damn crew after the time skip, and I'm like, and then on top of that, you say he used to be a Navy Marine officer, Admiral, I forget, I think it was an Admiral. So I'm like, there's something going on with Drake that you're gonna touch upon, and I think it's getting to that point where you're gonna touch upon it now. So if we had to go over my 3 major theories, I think 1, Supernovas versus Yonko. That's what's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna be this stupid. I don't think it's gonna be like the simply, oh, just Luffy and Law. Like, I think this is Luffy, Law, Apu, Kid, Hawkins, Drake, Kid. I think that's how this is gonna go. Hawkins, I feel like Drake eventually will just randomly. I don't think it'll be random, but he'll probably end up betraying Kaido. And maybe the other ones will be included too. I'm pretty sure when they do go in the Big Mom situation, I'm pretty sure Capone will end up in that situation. Why? Because you can't. He's the only character I think who has actively mentioned Caesar Clown. And I'm pretty sure Caesar Clown wasn't in the paper. Because he has no reason to be in the paper. He's also Capone's the only one who just actively mentions him. Like, I don't think none of the other supernovas give a shit. So here, and I know that's such a stupid thing to base it off of, but I feel like the fact that he knows he's a clown means that he deals in the underground shit too. And being a mafia boss, it makes sense. So I can easily see him being thrown with Big Mom. You can make some interesting joke about, actually it wouldn't kind of make sense, that Bonnie, because Bonnie's like, the whole thing about Bonnie is that she has this obsession with eating, right? Well, her power doesn't correlate with eating, right? I mean, she eats, and her ability is just to age and de-age herself. So why does she eat so much? Well, I wonder, what if Big Mom is Bonnie's mother? This will make a lot of sense, considering Bonnie's mother. If your mother is a Yonko, it would make sense why Akainu let her go. He didn't let her go necessarily because she was stronger than him or some shit. I think he let her go because Big Mom is her mother. They share the same habit of eating shit. The difference is that her ability, I guess, allows her not to lose weight. I don't fucking know. And it's kind of obvious Jory Bonnie probably doesn't want to be, and she's hiding. Like her post time skip look is her hiding. Well, why is Bonnie hiding? I wonder why Bonnie's hiding. Because Bonnie doesn't want her mother to find her. This is just a random theory I have, but that to me that's kind of interesting. To have Bonnie's mother be Big Mom. Because then it would explain why Akainu didn't touch her. Because he won't fuck with a Yonko. Because he knows what will happen. Now, whether or not, I don't think Bonnie used that as a bargaining chip, though. And if she did, I'd be surprised. But it would make more, that would make sense. That would make sense why Akainu let her go. You had no reason to let a pirate go unless you have a connection with Bonnie. I don't think Akainu has a connection with Bonnie, but I think Akainu knows who Bonnie's mother is. And I think even if, but that didn't bring up the question why, because remember, she was already captured by Teach. That also would make sense because why would Teach capture Bonnie? Bonnie's ability doesn't really do anything for him. It's like, you're going to take her aging and de-aging ability. Like, if anything, that might keep you immortal, but it would also make sense. I think Blackbeard's goal is to get the One Piece. Blackbeard, I think, has intentions of just destroying everything. I don't think Blackbeard has anything he wants to keep. He has his powers. I think he's going for the One Piece at this point. So my question, and he already looks like he's building a goddamn armada, as we've seen in the latest chapter. So it would make sense for him if that maybe his goal is the same thing as Luffy, since they seem to be on similar wavelengths, just with different ideology. Well, no, the ideology is the same. It's just taken in different ways. It would make sense that they both want to take out Yonko's, and what's the best way to get to a Yonko is to take out her daughter. A lot of people keep saying it's Lola's mother. To me, that doesn't fucking mean anything for it to be Lola's mother, because then that's like saying, well, Big Mom will be on my side now. I'm gonna bank that Jory Bonnie's mother is Big Mom, because that would explain more. Lola's mother, I feel like, is probably a bigger name pirate, but it's probably gonna be something that's like really convenient. And I don't think her mother being a Yonko, to me, that would take the challenge out of fighting a Yonko. And plus that, you can easily just say that Lola has a sister. So that theory could still work. There's nothing saying that Lola doesn't have a sister, and maybe they're both Big Mom's child. Lola being Big Mom's child, I know is going to be used as a convenient way for them to get out of a situation. I don't think it'll be Big Mom though. I think it'll be another pirate, like another character, but I don't think it's Big Mom. Or although you could then bring up the theory of Jory Bonnie being Lola's mother. And she just DH and she's just make herself look young, even though she might be old as fuck. That might be a little bit of exaggeration, but I don't know. I'm gonna stick with the theory that Big Mom is Jory Bonnie's mother, which would make sense why Akainu wouldn't fuck with her, because he won't fuck with a Yonko. As we've seen, Navy won't fuck with Yonkos. They just don't do it. Granted, most Yonkos don't go out of their way to start any shit, but from what we've seen, because we got Blackbeard, we have Shanks, we have Big Mom, and we have Kaido. Shanks has stopped wars, so I'm going to say that maybe Big Mom being Jory Bonnie's mother is what prevents Akainu from fucking with him. Maybe. But that's just a theory. An anime theory. Thanks for watching. This has been the Insane Game Freak. Life's a game. Play to win. And please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Peace.